Visiting Wilkes County on business or pleasure? Stay in Wilkesboro at the Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, or Red Roof Inn and Suites. Enjoy Southern hospitality, cozy rooms, and a complimentary breakfast. Explore the mountains and then relax with us. You've earned it. Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations.
Mayors, how are you? We've got the mayor of North Wilkesboro and the mayor of Wilkesboro. And I thought it was pretty neat because when I was speaking to Holly, I called her and I knew that Dale was coming in, mayor of Wilkesboro, at 3:30. And I said, Holly, when can we get your mayor in? And she says, well, I'm going to call him and bring him up to speed on a few things and maybe 4:30. Or and I said, well, Dale will be at 3:30. And she says, I bet they'd like to do it together.
Sure.
Yeah. So Holly is the instigator of the mayors coming together, putting on. You guys don't have feuds anyway, do you?
No. Thank you, Holly. No. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Holly's idea. Yeah. So you did good with Holly. That's great. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about this flood, this storm that started. Came on shore in Florida first. Our prayers and thoughts go out to those people. I cannot even imagine with the height of the water in those communities. It will be years before they ever come close to recuperating from that. Let's talk about when you first become aware of that, the storm and its trajectory, and it may affect North Carolina, it may affect Wilkes County. Mayor, when did you start first?
It's been close to 3 days ago. We saw it on the weather maps, and they showed the path. The center was supposed to go past somewhere between Memphis and Nashville. So I knew we were going to get some residual from rain from that. So I hope so. Well, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it'll bend a little further west than they thought. It didn't. It was worse than we thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And this, it's been epic proportions of rain, flooding. I spent the morning talking to people, and they said, this goes back to the 40s. That was an epic flood back, I think, about 1940. Right. And some people remember back then when they were just little kids, they said, gosh, it was awful. This is right up there with that one.
Wow, that's amazing, because there'll be people listening and they're in a certain part of the county and they haven't seen it that bad at their particular location, but just a mile from them it could be terrible, right?
Yeah, and don't go riding around looking for it, because I think the best videos and best pictures are going to be on social media.
Sure.
Because if you go down there, you might get caught in something, because it's 4:15 Eastern right now, and the water's still coming up.
Mm. So it's not over as far as the water rising.
No, sir, not out of the woods yet. No.
All right. And from Wilkesboro, yeah?
Yeah, same. 3 days ago, caught my attention, and I started paying particular attention to it. Maybe part of that is I started my career as an engineer in Charleston, South Carolina, with the city of Charleston, and so we dealt with hurricanes coming on shore.
A lot of water.
A lot of water down there, and we moved back to Wilkes in '86, and then a couple of years later, Hugo came in on Charleston, and so we went to bed that night worrying about all of our friends in Charleston, and woke up the next morning with a hurricane in our back door. And so seeing the projections of this reminded me a lot of the impact that Wilkes County felt when Hugo came.
So either one of you can answer this as we talk about when that 3-day period, we look back in the past for each of you. What were your first phone calls? Who did you, because you've got both of you are mayors of town, so you've got people, right? So did you call the people first, or did somebody on staff call you first?
My staff called me, and then I spoke to, there's one person can't do it all, like our town manager, Sure. And I spoke with our police chief and our fire chief, and made sure that they have everything they need, and just discuss things. Even today, the Public Works and Public Utilities directors, we worked with them to make sure they were going to be okay. They had the people that they needed. We tried to do some staffing adjustments this morning early because we weren't going to need everybody there because of the rain working outside, but we wanted to make sure we had a skidder, equipment, heavy equipment, backhoe, trucks, because we know we're going to lose trees and power lines, and just to keep things, the streets clear and safe, and try to rotate those people so the early shift people can go home and get some rest and maybe work later tonight.
So you started work on that 3 days ago. 2 days ago. Okay, 3 days ago. This is coming,
yeah.
And then within a day from that, then you begin your strategic department work.
That's correct.
Right? The same for you.
Yeah, same for me, and probably that first day you're hoping that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the cone shifts one way or the other, and then 2 days ago it started looking pretty certain.
That's right, Mayor.
And at that point, we unfortunately our town manager, this was his week to be out of town at a conference, and so he and I have been communicating long distance through the week and just making sure that everything was in line. And
I hope he wasn't in Florida.
No.
It would be like, I have an idea if he were in Florida, he'd say, Mayor, I'll be right there.
On my way.
But yeah, the same situation. You talk with your police chief, you talk with your fire chief, you just make sure that everybody's staged and ready to go. Our Public Works Department, those guys just did a remarkable job today. We finished our phase 1 after the storm, which is getting all our streets open. So we got everything cleaned up, all our streets open. We do have some areas where some trees are on power lines. We just cordon those off, and we'll take care of that tomorrow, Monday. I'm not sure, but all of our streets are cleared and open.
So you both have talked about the departments so that everybody understands what we're talking about. I think we have a high level, but talk about why each department is they have such an important role in a natural disaster, which is what this has turned into, right?
It has. So what we do, the Public Works folks, this we call the Streets Department. They're take care of blocking roads if people need to do a cleanup, and they also do our green thumbers, we call them, the landscape folks. They come in, chainsaws, cut up trees, bring in flatbed truck, dump truck to clear all this stuff away. And Parks and Rec director, they coordinate their fellas. The green thumbers are under him. So the 3 big leaders all report to Holly Minton, the manager, and they all are in line and have a chain of command for responsibilities for who does what. It's not something we rehearse for or practice for, but when things like this happen, they just fall into a natural rhythm. This is what this department does. This is what these folks do. And the same with police and fire.
So let's talk about one area of flooding in North Wilkesboro. So it's down in that area. It's right next to the river, and there's the Roses store, and there's the gardening center, right?
Wilkesboro Avenue.
And let's talk about that, because here's what happened. So I saw the road closures yesterday afternoon. I think Tim posted something on Life In Wilkes, and I looked at the list. It was a very long list of road closures.
Yes.
And that road was there.
Yes.
And I drove in at 5:15 this morning, and it was open. I said, oh, everything's okay. But that wasn't the case at all. So in your department, who were the people that facilitated making that a safe area where people would not go there?
That would be police department.
Okay.
And Chief Mathis, I'm sure he was up all night with his captains, making sure we had enough people and stationed at the right places to keep people out of those areas. Because when you drive upon them, particularly at night, and the power's going to be out, you can't tell the depth. And that's what people do. They go, oh, I'll make it. But then it's just too deep. So that area has been a chronic flooding problem. We had rain earlier, then it backed off. Early this morning, Wilkesboro Avenue was open. Then the rain came again. And don't forget the rain, we're down in the valley here by the river. Everything came out of the hills and just ran downhill.
Because it's raining there too. So
exactly. So it's got to go somewhere.
So we're not just getting the benefits of our rain, but we're getting in this situation the results of all the rain that's going on up above us.
2 and 3 zip codes away.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The science behind it is that a storm that large, your entire watershed is being rained on, and so 100% of the watershed is contributing to the flow.
And that's not normal.
That's not normal. Usually, a small storm will move through, and it just moves through the watershed, and so you get just little pieces, and maybe what happened first down at the bottom area where we are has already cleared out before we get what falls up in the mountains. But when you have a storm this size, you've got 100% of the watershed contributing to the runoff, and that leads to the flash floods and
the water tables were already full from previous rain. So the ground didn't absorb that much.
Right.
It just ran off.
So that's why all the runoff.
Yeah, that's right.
So back just one more moment about the road that was closed. It was open and it was closed again, and all the flooding there. I mean, we were down and got some footage, and we're showing it now, and that was absolutely amazing at how deep it was.
Yes.
And we saw the water. It looked like the river. Its current was coming into the town.
It did.
So
it was so much water. It's got to go somewhere.
Right.
And not a problem. We have all this runoff. The drainage pipes into the river, the water level goes above there. So there's no place for it to go. So it just starts to back up until that settles and get that flow going again. Pipes are big. They're clear. It's just once in a blue moon, you get these.
Yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah, we had a similar situation over on School Street in Wilkesboro along Moravian Creek. They came in and built the flood walls. Well, all the storm drain piping from School Street and above go through those walls. Well, when the flood rises, even though it doesn't top the walls, it backs up through the pipes and comes up and floods the street. And so we're experiencing that today.
So we saw a bit of that on 13th Street. I think now, there's a big tree that went down too, but before that happened, there was a manhole there and there was water spewing right. And that's because the system is having to deal with more capacity than it can really handle.
Yeah, it'll blow the tops off those manholes. Right. I've seen them shoot them 20, 30 feet in the air.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. Let's bounce over to Wilkesboro and talk about Cub Creek, because last night when we talked about, what the forecast was, and you told me, you said, look, it's bad and it's going to get worse, and that's exactly what's happened. And you said Cub Creek, the forecast is that it would be completely covered. Now, this morning when I come through, we were there and we got some images of the creek, and it was high, but it wasn't out. And I said, maybe we're going to miss that. But boy, oh boy, that's wrong.
Yeah. Again, as Mayor Hauser said, getting 2 or 3 days of rain, I believe we had between 5 and 7 inches of rain before the hurricane arrived.
Even happened. Right?
So all the depressions were full of water. The ground was saturated, and so basically you get 100% runoff. And so the Cub Creek rose quickly, and that's a floodplain anyway, so it just rises and flows in both directions, fills in the bottoms.
Right.
As I was coming over this afternoon, the water was already back in the stream, and it had probably dropped 2 feet. So the park was beginning to dry out, and it'll take town crews, our parks department, several days to get the mud cleaned up and get the trails ready to walk again. And so
how does all that work? How does that affect your budget? I mean, that's got to be something that do you plan for these contingencies, and is it ever enough?
Yeah, I'm not aware of planning for those contingencies.
Right.
You have your staff already there, and so you just redirect their efforts. Certainly, it will cost the town extra money, particularly you don't have a flood like this without some damage being done, and so there'll be repairs. And but you have a pot of money that you keep and just for these kinds of situations. Right. So
same in North Wilkesboro.
We do. In fact, when we do our budget, we have a certain amount we think we can get by on, then we add to it some insurance, just in case. And then we can also do a budget amendment to move. Well, it's the same pair of pants, just move some money from one pocket to another. And then we encourage people, if they go over, if they got to work, they got to work. And time and a half is a killer for a budget. So we encourage them to take comp time, time off at regular pay. And, so we work it out, though. Sure. We have a good crew, great people, good attitudes, good morale, and they're there when we need them.
Yeah, let me just say, I mean, both towns are so fortunate to have such quality folks working for the public, and it's been really nice over the last few days. The phone calls back and forth between the towns, between the town managers. I spoke with Holly this morning. If North Wilkesboro got in a situation and needed some extra forces, we would send them across the bridge, and I know they would do the same for us. So,
well, in a community that's so close together, I mean, that's really what the county has to have that. The state has to have that to make this a special place, doesn't it? Yeah. Just everybody working together.
Yeah, the new motto that's out there is "The river unites us." Well, in a flood, it certainly does.
Yes, it does.
It did this morning.
Oh boy!
Oh wow! Let's talk about that, and we'll get back to. Well, let's talk about one thing first. The people that you have in public works, your fire and your police, in times like this, they're doing. I don't want to raise it too high, but it's kind of like hero work. I mean, they're doing things to keep people safe and get things back to normal as quickly as possible. Yeah. I think that's an important thing for us all to know, right?
It is. And underneath all that our teams do during these periods of time is public safety, whether it's getting a road open. So if an ambulance or a fire truck needs to access a neighborhood or whatever it is, the foundation of everything that we do in this kind of situation is public safety.
So the first thing you have to do always is clear the road, right? So that whatever needs to get there can get there.
You do. First of all, if there's lines down, you worry about electricity.
Oh, sure.
That's first, and then clear the roads. And also, these guys, the fire department and the police, they're operating on a lot of hours and not much sleep, if any. So right now, when the worst is over, it's still coming up, but we don't have the torrential rains anymore. These guys can get a hot meal, get a nap in, because when they go back out, they're also their ambassadors. They have to inform people, calm their fears, help them, and tell them, this is almost over. Things are going to get better, and they will.
So, what can we do as regular citizens? How can we express our appreciation to those who serve? Because that's what it is. We know how to give honor to our veterans, which we absolutely should, but the firefighters and the police officers and even public work. I mean, public works is stuff has to work, and they make it work.
That's right.
So what do we do? What can we do as a community getting through this, but just life in general? It seems like we would all fare a lot better if we just really appreciated each other. Yeah. What would that mean to your people?
It would mean a lot to them because the fire department is very, very similar to the police department, but nationwide, the morale is better. It's not as good with the police. And we have both towns have great police forces. They're gentlemen. They have good manners. They're quality people. They're very approachable. Just thank them. Appreciate you being out there every day, keeping us safe. Same with the fire department. And if you're up, paying your tab at breakfast, wouldn't hurt to pick theirs up too and thank them.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to do.
Because they are good, and they work really hard.
Sure.
They're really hard.
Yeah, and in addition to doing those kind of things afterwards, let me speak to what you can do for them while
everything's normal.
A situation as we have a flood or a situation like that, and that is to listen to them first of all, is to understand their number one goal is public safety. They're out there trying to keep people safe and at home, and so if you encounter them, listen to them, do what they ask.
Is that a problem? Do you hear from your police chief that, hey, we got a little morale problem. We're trying to just help us all live safely and do what we need to do to be safe, but sometimes
probably the situation is people are curious.
Right.
They want to see. The impacts of a flood like this, and so they're trying to get down to Cub Creek, and we're trying to keep them from going down to Cub Creek, and so you do have encounters like that, and so my message, and I'm sure Mayor Hauser's message as well is stay away, let our forces do their jobs, stay safe, stay at home. If you have to get out, just travel to your job and back. But go to social media to see the videos of what's happened. And
that's right. We're going to take care of that. That's right. We'll get up early in the morning and put on our gear and be soaked and do all that. But then again, that's what we know how to do, and we practice very safe standards. So that's important. Mayor, let's talk about you have a river too, the Reddies River. And early this morning we were out and we got some images of she was waking up.
Yes, oh boy.
And she kept getting more and more angry. And when we started with some footage, the river had not gone out of its banks. Now I know it did go, I guess, yesterday, right, for a little bit because there was some damage.
Right.
We saw the erosion around the track or the walking path.
Yeah.
But my goodness, this morning, as the day went on, seeing the water completely covering all the trucks as far as you can see, and thinking about how dangerous and the damage that's going to cause. I can't help but to imagine that that's going to be a big project to take care of, because the trails here are extremely important to people and very popular. People walk on those for health reasons. Just chilling out, right?
When they tend to follow the rivers too.
They do. That's right, because it's pretty.
Right.
It's a great view. So I've seen it come over the banks before, but nothing like this. And of course, all that area down there, which you're speaking of, is floodplain. So it's we know it's going to go, but we can clear it off pretty quickly with heavy equipment, and we have water truck and big hoses. We can wash it clean.
Okay.
We're going to wait till a lot of that gets down. I'd probably stay away for a couple of days anyway.
Right. Let the sediment settle. And do all of that. And
right.
Maybe walk around the house at home, and then midweek or something come back and when everything's nice and safe.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay. All right. So that's your river. I guess on your side, right? When I say your side, it's all everybody's side, but the Yadkin River, right? So that's on the Wilkesboro side, and
well, it really goes through both towns.
So it's going through both.
Yeah.
So you both can speak about that, because my goodness, it was coming out of its banks as well. So talk about that and how that river got so big so quickly, and the significance of that.
Well, since we start upstream, I'll say a few words. That I want to thank the Corps of Engineers for their work to reduce the flows out of Kerscott. They went to an absolute minimum flow, dropped the gates to 6 inches, and so that prevented a lot of flooding.
Had they not done that?
Yeah, had they not done that.
Catastrophic.
Yeah. It would have been the 40 flood again.
It would have. It is. And plus that dam wasn't there in 40.
Yeah. Right. So but that's why the dam was built, though, right? To where it would keep those massive floods from happening.
Yeah. So last I heard, there was still, I rode up there this morning just to check, but last I heard there was still 20 plus feet of freeboard in the dam. So plenty of room for what's coming down from the mountains. So that's for the town of Wilkesboro's part. The first part of that is just a lifesaver. It certainly prevents flooding of our low-lying areas along the river. And then I'll turn it over to Mayor Hauser because it picks up and runs through North Wilkesboro.
It does. So when that helped a lot. The Army Corps of Engineers, they did save the day there by keeping those floodgates high. So keep in mind also, if we go back to 1940 to now, how much asphalt and concrete was there? So those surfaces are not permeable. Water just runs right off, and comes into where it's going to seek its own.
Makes a funnel.
Yes, it does.
Right,
and it's a dangerous and fast-moving one. So you can watch it come down streets that parking lots, and not even a building. There was all pasture land or just a field. And it would take up a lot of water.
You know, we saw when we were filming over at your river, the Reddies. We saw all sorts of things floating in that river: tires, debris, all types of debris, trees, logs, all types of things. And I assume that's the situation with all the streams that are coming in. That has an impact on our safety as well, doesn't it? For people who are enjoying the waterways when everything's normal and fine. What do people need to look out for there? Just to be mindful if they get in the water, just be careful, right?
Yeah. Probably wait till the water comes down. Because it's going to be snags. I mean, the water will be fast, and it's very exciting I'm not giving people ideas, but to kayak in or things. But it's dangerous because you'll hit a log, you hit a snag, you hit a tire. Lord knows what snakes. You'll hit everything in that water, because when that water comes up and it starts to run hard and fast, it just takes everything on the banks with it.
So if you got a snake there chilling out, well, he's going to be floating down the river.
You're going to have a new friend.
Right.
Yeah. So that probably just wait. And then also we did it, Mayor, I think your folks got involved in it too. We cleaned out debris that was snagged into river bridges and things.
The river keepers, I think they came into Wilkes and did a big cleanup project a few years ago.
Yeah, tons and tons. I mean, that would be the message I would want to put out to folks is dispose of things properly. Tires don't need to be in rivers. Your waste products don't need to be in rivers. They need to go to the landfill. And we see it more in a situation like this. I was up 16 North, 5 miles beyond Miller's Creek, and standing watching the Reddies up there, and it was shocking. But I mean, you wouldn't believe what came floating by, and so that would be probably my first message to folks is let's keep our rivers, let's keep our roadsides clean, let's be proud of where we live.
Keep America beautiful, especially the Carolinas, right?
That's right.
Especially Wilkes County.
Well said.
Yes, I don't know why we litter. The whole world litters, and it's just not something we have to do.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got our waterways, and it's really putting on a show. And we wanted to go out today and just film as much as we could, so people could see it, so they don't have to feel like they have to go out.
Exactly.
And I think that's important. Let's talk about the rest of the county. The mayor of Rhonda is not here, but we did have someone there get some wonderful photography and video for us. So I know you both know her and have a little idea about how things work in that part of the county, because that leads into Elkin, which both of you shared with us that Elkin always has. If we've got high water, they've got higher water because they're further downstream, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And Kerscott Dam and Reservoir helps them too, but there are numerous tributaries that come into the Yadkin after the dam, and so they don't get quite the benefit. North Wilkesboro primarily is downstream from the Reddies, and so it's not detained in any way. So that from the Reddies on down in the Yadkin,
it's free range.
It builds up momentum.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of free range, you've got a lot of that part of the county as we go toward Elkin, and you get through Rhonda and Rowan River. Those are agricultural communities primarily, and a lot of land.
Yes.
So we see livestock out. There was all sorts of water issues there as well. When you think about those, you think about your towns, and then you think about Rhonda as part of the county, because we're all part of the county. So if we think about those things, what is the value that you feel know that area, why is that so important that we're mindful of what's going on there and how we can be part of helping everybody recover, right?
Exactly right. It's a hamlet, small area as far as people-wise, right. And they don't have the resources Mayor Isom and I have, equipment, manpower, excuse me, and they have to rely on others, and particularly county and state, right? Because they need help, and they have to wait sometimes, for help and for relief.
So what do we do about that? Do we reach out and say, hey, you folks need some help? I mean, what can the citizens do to just be supportive of, everybody in the county?
Yeah, certainly. The thing about that part of the world down there, too, is you have very wide, undeveloped floodplains. And so when the Yadkin rises, it spreads out and thankfully gives it a place to rest a little bit. It gets out of the banks and spreads out and loses some of its velocity. So, while it may damage those fields some, it also carries the nutrients from the river out and dumps it in the fields because the water isn't moving fast, and so your solids drop out. So it's beneficial, honestly, for those agricultural areas to get that flush.
Okay,
but they don't have the steep currents we do, but they have flatter land, so if a bigger area floods, and because I believe it's flatter there too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. And you mentioned elk, and the last I saw, the Yadkin was up about 22 and a half feet there. So saw some images of downtown Elkin underwater. So it's a pretty serious situation there.
Right, because they're always going to get a bit more than we get in Wilkes.
That's right.
Right. Wow. So, just in closing remarks, thinking about the closing remarks. That's named after you?
Probably. One was named after the other. We're not sure.
Wait a minute. Your name is Marc, and your brother's name's Remark, right? Okay, so let's just the message to everybody on. Okay, we got a mess to deal with, but everything's going to be okay, right?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Both towns have the forces to get out there and do the cleanup work, make the repairs. Message to the folks in Wilkesboro: waste treatment plants are functioning. You can keep flushing. Okay. We have 5 million gallons of potable water in storage, and so no issues with water shortages.
So that's good, because that was a concern, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That if the floods were big enough, it could really upset that whole process, right?
That's right.
The ecosystem would not be good.
And in addition to that, the two towns have interconnectivity between our water systems. So if we start having a problem, they can supplement us and vice versa. So just another piece of how the two towns work together.
Right. Well, a little more information that I wanted to share, and I shared it with both of you earlier, was when you came in, people in the area with Spectrum, internet service, phone services, we all know they're down, and we finally reached someone fairly high up who said, well, it may be a while. There was a main, not cable, a main trunk line that was cut, and they alluded to the fact that's not an easy fix. So I said, when? He said, well, I can't tell. I said, when would you imagine? It could be Sunday, So it could be longer, it might be a little sooner, but it's not something their regular techs go out and are able to fix. So that's when it's affecting many different counties. So
I mentioned too, in addition, Duke Power is here in force. Right. They have moved in multiple trucks and forces, and last number I heard, I don't know if you've heard anything updated, was that we're somewhere around 15,000 without power in our community, and so I would I would expect that everybody will be brought back online as quick as possible.
As quick as possible. But with so many, it just takes a little bit longer, doesn't it?
It's so widespread, and it started south of us and worked its way north. So the people south of us were already in trouble, and resources were already being utilized. And then we did the best we can what we have, but they can only do so much.
Right.
So I can't. It's not like it's an isolated mess right here. But look on the bright side, and there is a bright side to this. We didn't lose any life or limb.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
the worst is over as far as wind. Trees coming down, damage, power lines, no more probably will go out, we hope. We got a little more flooding to deal with, but stay away from it. Everything will be fine. So, but it's, thank God we do have good people in both towns that pull together when we need to. So tomorrow will be a new dawn. It'll be a brighter day, and things will always look better in the morning.
And then the next day, and the next day.
Yes, sir.
Because it's going to take a few days.
Right.
Well, it was nice on the way in to look up and already see some blue skies.
I know.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice. And I was out driving, and I came back, and I crossed the bridge, where your river is, and I looked down, and it was still out of its banks. I said, so it takes time as well as sunshine.
It does.
Yeah. All right. Mayors, thank you so much. I think this was a wonderful visit. I'm sure that it'll help inform everybody and help us to remember that we've got great people working in the municipalities in the county, and they really do care about taking care of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Thanks
a
for
good
having
thing.
us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sure.